On the Talkback Show, on the radio, or whatever audiovisual device you choose to use. Welcome to the GBC Podcast, where we talk about the Packers in our hometown of Green Bay. We are the official podcast of the Lot 1 Tailgate Party, which is at Lambeau Field every home game. This is episode 120, created October 20th, 2025. I'm John. I'm in Appleton, Wisconsin. Along with me, Jeff in Minnesota, Neil on the East Coast. Say hello, gentlemen, and tell us what you're drinking.
If we had lost this game, I would have had a whole bunch of wine. But we did not lose this game, and so I'm having a special beer from Troon Brewing that describes what happened when the Cardinals offensive lineman faced Micah Parsons. I am withering away. It is a hoppy ale.
Good evening. Tonight, thanks to a dominant 3-sack, peerless performance from Micah Parsons, I'm having Double Oak Peerless Bourbon.
And in a surprise, you guys, I got a beer tonight from 903 Brewers. It is May the Stout Be With You, episode 2.
Nice.
You can find us on YouTube and Twitter at Green Bay Chat and Facebook at the GBC Podcast Green Bay Chat. And just the audio is available on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify by searching for Green Bay Chat. Well, what are we looking at this week? A successful trip to Arizona and a team that once again scores exactly 27 points. That seems to be the magic number. 27 points in 4 wins, a team 4-1-1. Not many one-loss teams in the NFL, but the Green Bay Packers are one of them.
We won on the road. We won on the road.
Woohoo!
That is equally as important here. Yes, a win on the road puts us at 1-1-1 on the road this season.
We have to start out with Micah Parsons, right? I mean,
Yep.
When was the last time you've seen a performance like that from a Packers defender? And it wasn't just the numerical elements. It was when in the game that he made all those plays. It's basically when you need your biggest players to step up, they have to step up. And you say that, of course, but it's rare that your biggest player actually steps up on defense when you need the biggest player to step up. Every time we needed a play, Parsons made a play.
Neil, as far as regular season goes, the answer to your question is October 10th, 1993, when the Denver Broncos came to Green Bay for a Sunday night football matchup. Packers walked away with a 30-27 victory because of one Reggie White sacking John Elway 3 times in that game.
The stat line is amazing. 4 solo tackles, 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and 5 QB hits. That's a pretty good afternoon.
But it wasn't just that, right? It was always in these big moments. And there were things that didn't come up on the stat line that were huge. So right before his big sack on the drive where Arizona got their final field goal, he completely disrupted the play on the play before. You know, John, you'd say that a pressure doesn't mean anything. Well, pressure meant everything because there was no way he'd get the ball off to their receivers. And that disruption was present. And it wasn't just Micah Parsons. Let's be very clear about that. But that disruption was present all throughout the game in different phases.
As Micah said post-game, though, he was surprised. They were not double teaming him in a lot of cases. They had some poor lineman trying to block him.
And it was evident, right? And I think the big thing about especially that final drive, and it was even mentioned by the announcers, he went and took a breather. He needed a one-play breather. And when he came back from that play, holy cow, it was a huge difference.
Parsons played 54 defensive plays out of 76. So he was ready to be fresh. And I think that was intelligent rotation by the defensive staff, combined with Parsons saying, this is when I need it in order to perform my best. And yeah, not having Parsons play every single play certainly makes a difference. He played plenty. 54 is a lot of plays in a game, but he also had his opportunity to just become into a pure beast mode type of player.
He actually should have had 4 sacks because of the hip drop tackle. So that would have been sack number 4. So what a performance.
And yeah, Jeff, 4 sacks would have been great. It would have been a career high for Micah Parsons in a game. But you know what? 3 sacks in a game is also a career high for Micah Parsons. Prior to this, his high was 2.5 sacks per game, and he did that 3 times as well.
But there were other people that were moving all around on the defense. We have the Keyshawn Nixon punch out. Edgerrin Cooper was everywhere in that game. There were at least 2 times that he basically prevented either a touchdown or a first down because of his play. Colby Wooden was a revelation in that game. He also seemed to be all over. I was shocked when it was only 1 tackle for loss, because I swear I counted 4 or 5 as the game was going on. And then Quay Walker, also man who was possessed and everywhere. His line certainly shows it with 1.5 sacks and 3 QB hits, but it was more than just sacks. He was doing a great job as far as defending on the play. There were a number of times that their tight end did not get a reception, essentially because Quay or Cooper was playing him so tight.
But wait, there's more. You haven't mentioned Rashawn Gary yet. He's the one who actually had the turnover.
And a great strip sack for Gary. Evan Williams jumping on the ball. When you watch that play, Micah Parsons looked like he wanted to pick it up and go with it. And that's a situation where you just dive on the ball. Just get on the ball. You do not need to advance that fumble.
Yeah, but can you imagine him returning that for a touchdown?
I know he was imagining it, Jeff. That's the problem. He was thinking of he had the glory before he had the ball.
Fair enough.
And we did all of this with no Lucas Van Ness. We did it with no Devontae Wyatt. And at the beginning of the game, right, it didn't look so great, right? They drove right down on that first drive. And it's like, oh, shit, we're really missing those linemen. And, well, that completely changed after that. And imagine getting our full quartet of the front line in and playing.
And you talk about how not just that first quarter, but the whole first half, Neil. First of all, first quarter, this is the first game where a team has scored on the Packer defense in the first quarter. The Cardinals get 3 points in the first quarter. It's the most points surrendered in the first half with 13 points. Now, through 6 games, this team has only given up 33 points in the first half. 13 of them came in this game.
Of course, it wasn't perfect. There were a lot of penalties in that game.
Yeah.
There were 10 penalties that were counted on the Packers, but there were 2 more that were declined. And it was really the timing of the penalties, especially on the defense. On that first drive, we had a roughing the passer penalty that ended up leading to that field goal. The hip drop tackle, obviously, on their third drive. Offsides on an incompletion that leads to a touchdown the next play. Defensive pass interference, which thankfully that one didn't cost us because it was the Gary strip sack the next play. Defensive holding before a field goal, and then illegal contact on the final drive, which again, because of our defense, that didn't end up costing us. But that is 6 big penalties on our defense that definitely made the game much closer than it otherwise could have been.
And outside of penalties, we struggled a bit in cornerback play as well. I think Nate Hobbs is out of position.
Yeah, he looked a little lost out there. The completions in front of him, he just seemed to get turned around. He wasn't moving well in space. And this was supposed to be one of our bigger free agent pickups this last offseason. And he looked a little lost out there.
I mean, it wasn't just lost, though. It was the big completions on long third downs. A 3rd and 23 conversion, that's a real killer. A 3rd and 14 conversion. Those were 43 and 35-yard passes. And we talked about rotation with Micah Parsons. Well, in contrast to that, Nate Hobbs played all 76 plays on defense. And I've talked about this before, that I don't like the fact that there's absolutely no rotation on these guys that are running full-out sprints on almost every play. And I don't know, maybe Carrington Valentine should have more than 2 snaps in the game.
One of the things that I'm curious about, because we do need cornerback help, when we look back at last season, it was around this time of year that the Packers traded Preston Smith to who else? The Pittsburgh Steelers. They only get a draft pick in return, but it's a move that freed up some money last year. And I really, really thought at the trade deadline, the Packers were going to go after Greg Newsome in Cleveland. He has now since been traded. But again, is there a way to open the door to trade for a cornerback at the trade deadline, because this team needs help?
But it's clear that we have to do something different as far as the defense is concerned. And it was those big plays that really hurt us. Now, first of all, Jacoby Brissett with 279 yards says something about how the defense played. But you look at Trey McBride, he's obviously a great player, and he sort of killed us all over, and we're lucky he didn't kill us more than he did. Zay Jones, 2 receptions, 67 yards. Marvin Harrison, 2 for 58 yards. That is a bend and break defense if you're allowing those big plays like that. You've got to avoid those big plays, because a better receiver core could tear us apart under those circumstances.
The good news, even though Brissett was slinging it down the field, our run defense was pretty decent. They only picked up 94 yards with Bam Knight, there's a name for you, picking up 57 yards on 14 carries.
But it was actually even better than that because of those yards, 26 of them were from Jacoby Brissett. They really tore us apart in the first quarter, 5 rushes for 31 yards from their running backs. In the final 3 quarters, their running backs had 17 rushes for 37 yards, a 2.2 yard per attempt average in the last 3 quarters for their running backs. No matter how worried we were on that first drive and their second drive, that run defense really came through and performed at the level that you would expect based on their statistics of being the best run defense in the NFL.
And as always, Neil, when we talk statistics, there is only one stat that matters. It is who scores the most points. We did talk about the first half. Our defense, again, giving up the most points in the first half. The offense only gathering 6 points in that first half. 3 of those points were pretty exciting, though. Overall, again, we scored 27 points, but Jeff, how about that field goal? A new Packer record, 61 yards.
It was, but it's how the whole thing came about.
Yeah.
Field goal, 2 plays, 22 yards, 7 seconds.
7 seconds on the clock, exactly. This is another situation where the Packers get a gift from the clock tender on the road. Remember in Dallas, that overtime play, and there was 1 second left on the clock in overtime in Dallas. And here in Arizona, getting 1 second left on the clock at the end of the first half. There's 2 guys that might be looking for jobs because of how they handled the clock for the visiting team.
But Arizona made mistakes there too. And I don't know why Arizona kicked it into the end zone, because if they kicked it into the landing strip, we don't have time to make that drive. We don't get those 3 points. And that was a poor decision on Arizona's part. But I think on the previous drive, I'm really concerned with Matt LaFleur's decision-making under certain circumstances, because he called that timeout with 1:07 left when they were still 30 yards out. And that gave them the time to score the touchdown. And at the time I texted you guys, that was a 4-point timeout from Matt LaFleur, changing a field goal into a touchdown by giving them that extra time. And thankfully, it didn't cost us 4 points because we managed to have that super fast drive and get 3 of those points back. But that was not great decision-making by LaFleur in giving them the opportunity to have that extra time to make those extra plays to score the touchdown.
But getting the opportunity, then not kneeling the ball down. Yeah. Their special teams, their ass hats, kick in the end zone. Okay, sure, let's throw one in the middle of the field. They still had a timeout. But it goes in the middle of the field. They pick up a big, chunk of yards. Why not?
Yeah, it was a beautiful 22-yard pass play. It gets you across midfield. But then the question becomes, are you going to Hail Mary it from the 43-yard line, or are you going to trot out your kicker who's been with the team for about a week, who, oh, by the way, was most recently a substitute teacher in Cleveland, who we don't know, or we didn't know anything about Lucas Haversick coming into this game. We remember Brandon McManus on a long field goal attempt, low trajectory, it got blocked. That's pretty normal, right? Low trajectory for the longer kick. Haversick put some air under that kick. It was good for another 10 yards even.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Sean, but it was a hell of a kick, and it was a no-doubter. When he hit that thing, he got the air, a franchise record. That's what's crazy. No Packer field goal kicker has ever kicked one that's incredible. And
right, when you look at the media guide, between 54 and 58 yards, there's Mason Crosby's name more than a dozen times. And now, again, a guy who's been on the team for 2 games now has the franchise record of 61 yards, longest kick for a Packer.
However, we are still getting excited about 3 points and a field goal when we only had 6 points total, and easily that could have been 3 points. And that's the second element.
It was an amazing 3 points.
It was, John, but our offense really struggled in that first half. And it was really because we had a lot of issues with conversions on third down. And a lot of that came down to play calling on the first drive. So first of all, again, Jordan Love had some amazing plays, both running the ball and passing the ball on third down. That pass to Golden on the first drive. Beautiful. But we get to a 3rd and 1 on the first drive. Wilson runs for -1. That ends up being not consequential because Love threw to Golden again for a second first down, this time on the 4th and 2. We got a 3rd and 4, a Wilson run for -1 yards. And it was that play after that when we went for it on 4th and 5, a correct call, and we had the incompletion to Dobbs deep. I rewatched the game, and a 4th and 5 seems like a situation where you should have a couple of players that in short and send one long. Well, guess what? Golden went long to the corner as well. We basically had one person that went out into the flat and then 2 players who went deep. We only had 3 receivers out on that route. And when you need 5 yards, when you need the first down more than anything, it seems like you should have options for the first down. And if that deep receiver is open, absolutely take the chance and send it there. But basically, we sent 2 receivers deep and one that was going to be an extremely difficult pass for Jordan Love. We did not set up our team for success with the play calling, either on third down or on fourth down on that drive.
And definitely a power outage in points per se there, Neil. But again, at the end of the first half, you're only down a touchdown. This is a one possession game at 13-6, and you get the ball to start the second half.
And it was a hangover from the first half. It was a 3 and out. I had pretty high
But you still got the ball first, huh? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that only does something if you actually gain yards with it, right? We had 2 of our first 5 drives were 3 and outs. That's a power outage as far as this offense is concerned. And a lot of that was because we had a lot of swing passes. We had a lot of passes and running plays that went for negative yards. And let's try to do something that's actually going to move the ball forward. How many swing passes were there during that game? And it just seemed like they always had those covered. We had too many things that were too slow in development, especially in the first half.
This is where the defense took over, bailed us out, got the fumble, and the offense said, hey, great, we have a short field. Let's actually do something with it. And they did.
Yeah, in the first half, the Packers had 98 yards of offense. That third quarter, 106 yards, and we scored 1 touchdown, but we really scored 2 touchdowns because the first play of the fourth quarter was the touchdown pass to Tucker Kraft. And so 14 points in 1 quarter plus 1 play.
It's a good thing that happened, Neil, because we had a concern that this team just wasn't going to show up in the fourth quarter, that they've been down in the fourth quarter. Well, on the very first play of the fourth quarter, you get a touchdown. I think that's a good way to get the momentum running in that fourth quarter.
After we scored, the asshats decided that they needed to interject themselves in the situation and not only allow a long kickoff return, but throw in a face mask penalty by Mosby on top of it, give them the ball at the 45-yard line. And it was a very short drive that they needed to do. It took them 11 plays to do it, but we started the fourth quarter behind, and then after those 2 scores, we are again behind in the fourth quarter, and the team needs to step up. This is a team that needs to show the ability to have this resilience, and that was the best part of the game other than Micah Parsons, was the offensive resilience that we had and just saying, no, we are going to score. We are going to take this game and make it a victory, and it was great to see.
But it wasn't without some struggle, because after that 11-play, 24-yard field goal for Arizona, it was another 3 and out for the Packers. 3 plays, 4 yards, a minute. You were thinking, what's going on here? So fortunately, the defense stepped up again, because then the next Arizona possession, turnover on downs. And this is where the offense said, oh, thank you, defense. Let's go do something good again.
Yeah, and I think we got to give a lot of credit, not just as we talked about earlier in that last drive in the fourth quarter, but the whole fourth quarter. Again, defense holds Arizona to 3 points. And to your point, as you made there, Jeff, there's a couple of 3 and outs in there. Then it becomes a game against the clock where you're down 23-20 with 9 minutes remaining, right? And Green Bay does need to make something happen on offense. And that final scoring drive for Green Bay is one for the ages, just from the perspective of play calling that happens in this drive.
It was a case where the Packers offense decided we are going to impose our will. Josh Jacobs took a step up in that last drive as well. And it just seems like even if he has problems moving the ball earlier in a game, when he gets within the 10-yard line, he's just going to find a way to get into the end zone. And he obviously scored twice in that game.
Before that moment, there's a spot in there, and you guys know, I was extremely concerned that these guys were going to chicken out and play for the field goal and try to push down the field in the next possession, controlling a tie game. And something happened there in that timeout. Whether you saw it on TV or you heard the announcers, something happened there to make LaFleur change his mind about going for that field goal.
Thankfully. If we played a tie, we're going to lose that game.
Yeah.
Yep. As we always seem to do in Arizona. LaFleur afterwards was adamant. He was happy that he made the decision, but he didn't initially make that decision. They burned a timeout. Ultimately, it was the right decision. And this is what we've been looking for. Keep your feet on the gas. Don't allow the other team to drive down and score. Score the touchdown, impose your will. Neil, on your earlier point about Jacobs, in this quarter, they were not running parallel to the line of scrimmage. They were running straight forward downhill. And so I think they finally figured out that let's not run Jacobs parallel to the line of scrimmage. Let's run him right up the middle and score the touchdown.
But again, Jeff, before the touchdown, there is a fourth down play, and we see Jordan Love just literally lob a ball towards the sideline. So raise your hand if you're seeing Tucker Kraft nearing the sideline. Did you shit your pants as he's trying to catch the ball? Raise your hand. Okay.
I think it's just you, John. I felt confident. I mean, to me,
when we talk about sideline pass plays, I don't know. We all love Tucker Kraft, but he is our run through the brick wall. He is not the finesse, get your toes tapped in at the sideline and make a nice solid. He still basketed that catch on top of it. Nonetheless, he makes a play that it's not Jared Cook in Dallas, but it's a play that's going to make the highlight reel at the end of the year.
This is why he's so valuable also, because he can make that play. He caught the ball, and it was fantastic. Now, you clearly were quite puckered.
Well, I was puckered until everything came out, Jeff.
But that was our most successful approach as far as the game was concerned, was sending the ball and getting it to our receivers in the intermediate distances. And Dobbs obviously had an absolutely huge game. Kraft with a huge game. Golden had a fabulous first quarter and then one play in the second half. But it's going to be exciting when we can get all of those receivers back, because it's clear that we've got a game plan that is capable of really spreading the ball around and taking advantage of what we're being given. And Wicks is clearly not capable of doing that in all 6 situations.
And another game where, as far as the passing game is concerned, 8 players targeted for passes. Now, one of those, Chris Brooks, he doesn't catch his pass, and Emmanuel Wilson loses 2 yards on his. So 2 of those targets aren't very successful. And then out of the other 6, really, Fitzpatrick, Wicks, and Jacobs each only get 1 catch, minimal yardage. Dobbs, Kraft, and Golden, though, nice day on the receiving side.
Yeah, they've got to chuck the ball downfield more. I mean, there are just too many swing passes, too many short passes that ended up doing nothing. Our running backs, 2 receptions for 1 yard. And it was just a situation where we've got to make sure that our receivers know where to go. And on the Jordan Love sack, we had the situation where Jordan Love had nobody to throw to. His downfield receivers were both covered, but then we decided that we were going to have 2 of our receivers, one of them being Wicks, covering one of the Arizona defenders. And clearly Wicks has got to know to escape out. There was only one defender in their area. If he escapes out into the middle of the field, there was completely open space there. Love would have found him, and then we'd have had a first down. So it's just, Wicks does some really good things, but he's frustrating at times as well.
There is a concern, I know, with being on target on those downfield passes. What I will say to Love's credit on the pass where he misses Dobbs in the end zone is at least he overthrew it through him there. Last season, you guys know that. So I was so frustrated that Love trying to go deep and he's leaving them short. It's not that he's intentionally leaving them short to get his receivers to come back to them. It felt like he just couldn't go any farther than that. So on this pass to Dobbs that he misses in the end zone, Dobbs takes a little bit different angle. Maybe it's a catch. But either way, it's put in a spot where it's not going to be intercepted as well.
I'll give you an alternative take. If it had not been Dobbs, if it had been Golden or Watson there, he catches, he outruns the receiver, he gets to the ball, and it's a touchdown. That was partly a Dobbs thing, being that receiver as well.
Yeah, so now you look at how close are we to Christian Watson being back on the field and having that downfield threat, if not to get a pass play like that, but to stretch out the defense so that whoever the short receiver is, this offense is going to start to have a new look to it when Watson gets on the field coming up. And all things considered for the game, it's a game that started out tense on Saturday as well, worried about whether this team is actually going to get to Arizona.
They didn't arrive to Arizona until 8:30 in the evening for a 1:25 game the next day. I've had issues with how early Matt LaFleur gets to Denver, and this is sort of the same thing. You've got to sort of build yourself a lot more of a buffer. Now, it's a very weird situation for a charter to be like that, but basically they had all of the reasons in the world to underperform, right? You aren't able to do your normal routine. They're arriving late to their hotel. They probably are going to sleep later than they usually are. That didn't matter in the end because they dug down deep. They knew that they had to win a game, and both the offense and the defense made those plays to win that game.
And for this week, it is back-to-back road games for the Green Bay Packers as they are traveling to Pittsburgh, and we are hoping that the team has safe travels as well. And I hope we have safe travels as well because we are all driving to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Jeff, you and I will be coming from the west. Neil, you and our friend Dave are going to be coming from the east. We are going to meet where the three rivers come together, and we are going to have a great time with our Packer fan friends, as well as the Yinzer mob in Pittsburgh for a Sunday night matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers. First, Neil, let's talk about being in Pittsburgh. You were there 2 years ago. You had a great time. This is a city and a team. When they come to Green Bay, they tailgate with us. They're awesome fans. These are football fans. And I think they are ready for the Packer fans once again to come into town.
Every time I've watched a sporting match in Pittsburgh, I've had a great time. I've been to the baseball stadium, which is, in my view, the best modern baseball stadium. I was at the game 2 years ago, and the fans are just great. It's almost as if they are trying to be the opposite of Philadelphia fans. They've got this inherent cross-state rivalry in Pennsylvania, and it's like, no, we're not like those assholes in Philadelphia. We are welcoming, we're good human beings, and we want to have fun, enjoy the game, but we also want to enjoy the fact of being fans of football.
And Neil, downtown Pittsburgh, a walkable area, and based on where we are staying, we're just over 1 mile away from the stadium. But it's not a straight 1 mile walk. We got to cross one of those rivers.
That's one of the things that's great about watching games in Pittsburgh is that the downtown is indeed at the confluence of the three rivers. They've got major parts of the city that are on the different parts, and they've got these incredible bridges, right? Pittsburgh is Steel Town. They are the Steelers, and they've got these gorgeous steel bridges over the river. They're painted yellow, and you walk across them. It is a fully pedestrianized walk to get to the game and to get back after the game. And you're just sort of celebrating fandom. It's just different than when you're driving to a stadium. And yes, they've got parking lots for all of the suburban people. And yes, the parking lots are very welcoming, but the massive humanity that is walking over the bridges to and from the game makes it special.
So, John, you and I have a little bit of a side quest planned before we get to Pittsburgh.
Side quests are always fun, right, Neil?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to stop in Cleveland, Jeff. The last time I was there was 2016, so I'm hoping some things have been updated. But one of your wheelhouse bands has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame since 2016. So I hope you are excited for the Depeche Mode display at the Hall of Fame.
I'm excited for all the displays. I think this is going to be really, really fun and exciting. I mean, this is Mecca. If you love music, this is where you have to go.
So we're looking forward to a good, safe trip, Jeff, you and me, and then a little bit of fun in Cleveland before we meet Neil, you and our friend Dave coming from the other direction into Pittsburgh. Neil, any specific spots that you can say, hey, we got to go Friday night, or we got to be there Saturday or be there Sunday? Anything specific you're looking forward to?
We're going to want to go onto the South Shore where they've got a funicular against the river. So it's a big, essentially cliff against the river. And so it's essentially just a big little rail car that's brought up high. And they've got great views from the South Shore as far as the entire area. You can see the full three rivers. It's one of the things about Pittsburgh that's great is it's very hilly. It's just a very scenic. It's sort of like being in San Francisco, except in Pennsylvania as far as the hills that are all around. We'll go to the Strip, certainly. We will probably stop at the North Shore and say, go to the Andy Warhol Museum. It's a city that is great from a cultural perspective. It's great from aesthetic perspective. I'm looking forward to have fun. But the other thing is there are those three rivers, and we are going to take advantage and get on the water in those rivers as well.
Oh, okay. On the rivers, Neil, not necessarily in them. I don't think we're going to do any swimming in those rivers, but we'll be trolling about on the rivers in a boat. But Sunday morning, Neil, I really want to know, where are you taking me Sunday morning?
Sunday morning, Arsenal play, and as has become a tradition, we will go to the local Arsenal bar. So the Steel City Gooners, or the 412 Gooners, are going to be our host, and going to the Arsenal bar is always fun in any city, and hopefully see an Arsenal victory before we start our tailgating in earnest to see a Packers victory.
It was interesting when we did that in Buffalo. I know you did it in Nashville. So I do look forward to joining you because we've got that great Sunday night game to look forward to. So just lots of fun, ready to go. But overall, let's also take a look at this football game, right? Let's not overlook that. We're there for a matchup. Jeff, who's this cat that they got as quarterback for Pittsburgh? Why is this an important game?
Aaron.
Interesting statistic is Aaron Rodgers can be, I believe it is the fifth quarterback to defeat all 32 current NFL teams. He can join fellow Packer Brett Favre. I won't even go down the list because Jeff just says it's not going to happen. All right, why is it not going to happen?
That really is the storyline for the game, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be Aaron Rodgers is going to play with a chip on his shoulder just because he always manufactures a chip. And The Packers team is going to be going in the exact opposite direction because they don't want to see Jordan Love lose to Aaron Rodgers. And Jordan Love certainly has got that ego as well, that he does not want to lose to Rodgers either. But this is going to be a whole team effort because they want to not lose to Aaron Rodgers, and they don't want that narrative hanging over the team.
And tailor-made for Sunday night. We've got another Sunday night matchup. The NBC programming people must just be ecstatic with the Packers. The goofy Cowboy game, the tie, the excitement with Micah Parsons, and now you've got the Packers and Aaron Rodgers trying to beat his old team. Great storylines.
Yeah, going into the Arizona game, I was worried that the Packers were overlooking the Cardinals because Pittsburgh's on the schedule next, just like we talked about that Cleveland game with Dallas next. When you watched Pittsburgh play against Cincinnati, did you get the feeling that they were overlooking this depleted Bengals team because the Packers are up next on their primetime schedule?
2 words, John. Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
Joe had a great game.
He did, but the game, I think it matters to Aaron, but it doesn't matter to the rest of the team the way the game matters for the rest of Jordan Love's teammates and the game is concerned. And there are opportunities. I'm not going to go through the Packers statistics. You know basically what they are, but Pittsburgh's offense is only 25th in yards per game. They're 26th in rushing yards per game. They're a little bit better for the passing. And their defense is 28th in yards per game, 375 yards per game, 31st in passing yards allowed per game at 259. A little bit better against the run. The one thing that their defense is particularly good at is turnover differential. They are 5th in the NFL for turnover differential. I was talking with a friend who is a Steelers fan about this game, and he is terrified of how their D-backs are going to respond to our wide receivers. So they've got Joey Porter, Darius Slay, and Jalen Ramsey. 3 huge names as far as their D-backs are concerned. But these are names that were big names a while ago. They're definitely on the downside of their careers. And that is what they are concerned about, is that they are able to be exploited, especially by speed. So certainly you expect that Golden is somebody who's going to be able to take advantage of this. And the key for the Pittsburgh defense is their linebacker core, TJ Watt and Nick Herbig. So big Wisconsin connections there. And he was specifically excited about how Nick Herbig is developing. He's in his 3rd year and is really turning into a star player in the making. And that disruption that is possible from their linebacking core, they both make interceptions, they both sack the quarterback. And so that disruption is going to be critical as far as covering for those big name but older cornerbacks.
And Jeff, as you mentioned, yeah, this is a game built for primetime, not just because of the Aaron Rodgers angle, but this is 2 teams that have been playing pretty well. I think there was a hope that the Steelers would be a 1-loss team going into this game as well. And like I said, they kind of let that Bengals game slide. But when we look at the 4 games they did win, hey, week 1, they beat the Jets by only 2 points, right? Then they lose to the Seahawks by 14. Week 3, they beat the Patriots by a touchdown. Week 4, it's that matchup with the Minnesota Vikings, which effectively was last team with the ball, right? They beat the Vikings by 3. And then, yeah, they beat up on the hapless Browns 23-9. Well, maybe not too hapless because they kind of annihilated Miami.
They beat us, John. Yeah.
And they beat us. Yes, we got to remember that. So, right, Neil, the transitive theory of math works. Pittsburgh beat Cleveland. Cleveland beat us. We are due for a loss on Sunday night, correct?
I've already gone through the numbers. I think the other concern that we have, though, is that DK Metcalf has clearly developed a relationship with Aaron Rodgers. He's got 406 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns already. He's averaging 18.5 yards per reception. We don't have anyone that's close to that level, but the good news is it's basically DK Metcalf and nobody else. Their next best receiver only has 187 yards. And yes, Aaron Rodgers is finding people for touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers has thrown 14 touchdown passes so far this year. He's throwing at a 69% clip. So, he's throwing the ball well, but he's not doing quite as well as Jordan Love. So both of them 69% clip. Aaron Rodgers, 7.4 yards per attempt. Jordan Love, 8.2 yards per attempt. I'll take the younger guy here.
You like the younger guy. And again, going back to how we looked at this game in the preseason, I think we all picked this as a Packer victory. I'm going to stay with a Packer victory. Neil and Jeff, here's my reasoning why. This is our 5th road trip for the GBC podcast. We are 2-2 on the road trips. We're going to pick up our 3rd win here because when we were in Cincinnati, we crossed a bridge to get to the game. When we were in Nashville, we crossed a bridge to get to the game. Denver and Buffalo, no bridges, no wins. We walk across that bridge, we are walking to victory in Pittsburgh.
Now, there is analysis that is sharp, John. Well played.
Yes.
Well played. I'm looking forward to the road trip. We have a blast on these things. I've never been to Pittsburgh before, so visiting Pittsburgh, Neil, because you've been there and you describe it, you could be a tour guide. You will be a tour guide. Excited about the game, the Aaron Rodgers aspect, Sunday night, the Yinzer mob. What's not to love about this? I'm so looking forward to this. Go Pack, go.
Jeff, you forgot it's the only stadium where you can get pierogies as a concession at the game. I'm also looking forward to our ability for our tight ends to make a difference. My Steelers fan friend also said tight ends always end up beating us up. That sounds like an opportunity for Tucker Kraft, maybe a little Luke Musgrave. It's going to be a fun day in Pittsburgh. I think that we have got the better players on both offense and especially on defense. We're a better team. We're going to be motivated. There's no chance that we're overlooking the Steelers. It's going to be a fun day in Pittsburgh, and it's going to be a fun weekend in Pittsburgh. Go Pack, go.
And we're the three best friends that anyone could have. And we're going to go to Pittsburgh. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please hit subscribe and leave a comment. Find the GBC podcast at Green Bay Chat. That's all one word, Green Bay Chat. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Blue Sky, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. On Facebook, it's the GBC Podcast Green Bay Chat. And please follow us on any and all of those social media platforms. And may you fully appreciate the magnitude of your impending good fortune. Thanks for joining us.
Good night.
Good night.